Oh my commies! I mean imaginary commies. Yep, imaginary commies. Welcome to the Soviet Union, the start of the communist journey, where we take an exploration at communism and why communism exists or something, I don't know. So we're basically gonna go through the history of communism, because why the heck not? I'm putting and stalling up upon letting this communist power spread equal power situation. This is probably why I don't have any subscriber. Because these jokes are bad and not funny. Unless everyone gets it. Puns aside, commies lectures basically go through to the Soviet Union to see basically how communists started and go across. And the USSR, I mean actually, I think it's our SSR. That's much better. Rise up commies and okay, that's the last communist puns in the Soviet Union. So communism is a big part. So let's just get into the brief history of it, because why the heck not? And most of you probably aren't even watching, because after the terrible puns that I said, you probably just click away because you thought this was just gonna be a clickbait video or something. So what exactly is communism for all of you uneducated in world history, or for all of you that have amnesia or something, I don't know. Well, communism is basically a political theory derived by a philosopher named Karl Marx. This is an ideology in where each of the property are publicly owned by the government, while everyone gets distributed money. There's two basic types, which is the Marxism and the non-Marxism. Marxism is overall more similar to basically the communism, while non-Marxism is like more similar to the socialism. And socialism is basically kind of like communist, but not really communist, but more similar to capitalist. I know it's confusing. Communism actually started pretty early in around the 1840s, where political conditions changed. A German economics or a philosopher, Karl Marx, basically created this idea known as communism for manifesto, creating a class of revolt against the Communist Party. However, communism didn't actually spread that big because people are actually smart that time, but that became big in around November 7th, 1917, where Vladimir Lenin went on a helm toward Marxism. He seized the power during the Russian October Revolution and became the first communist government in Russia. Lenin basically started to gain more and more power in the revolution and started to take over most of Eastern Europe and Central Asia, and after that, he basically created the USSR, also known as the United Soviet Socialist Republic, also known as the Soviet Union, because apparently that's how mafia works, I guess, in this period known as the Red Terror. In the early 1920s, Lenin died from a stroke, leading to Stalin serving as the next basic communist leader. And in the turn of the communist leader of Stalin, Stalin basically signed the Treaty of Unification, which joins the Caucasus region, Trans-Caucasus region of Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan, as well as Ukraine, Belarus, and really that's just it. Stalin also created a bunch of political drama, which one of the most infamous one is the Marxism and Leninism drama, which basically is a political system that basically combines the Marxism, which is the economic ideology, to the Leninism, which is the political practical economic. Communists kind of damaged at that time, but not really, from the European attack across the Soviet Union. Many Eastern European countries have started to ally with the Soviet Union and become communist because, well, the Soviet Union is like the biggest country. Why would you want to mess around with literally one of the biggest and most powerful countries? Yugoslavia, of course, also became a communist after being a non-aligned country. And soon, right after World War II, we got the Cold War, which is going to be a scramble across the section. The Cold War, for you that don't know, is basically a war between two of the biggest powerhouses, the Soviet Union and the USA. The Soviet Union basically want the economic system of communists, aka socialists, to take over, while the US doesn't want it, basically oppose it, and kind of be on the capitalist side. But it's not really capitalist, but kind of is, so yeah. Oh, and they both started to spy on each other's government because apparently that's what people do these days. Now, moving to 1949, there's the war between the Japanese occupation, and there's also the Chinese Civil War, which is a battle between mainland China, aka Communist China, with capitalist China, aka Taiwan. Which mainland China claims that Taiwan is a part of their country, but like Taiwan wants to be independent because different political system. So there's the 1957 space war against the US and also the Soviet Union through the Communist-Capitalist Cold War. Random crap that happened. And in 1961, there's the German Berlin Wall attack, which made Eastern Germany communist, while Western Germany just not communist, whatever. In 1962, a similar situation happened in Yemen, where northern Yemen is basically turning into communist, while southern Yemen is. While in 1959, the Cuban leader of Fidel Castro, whatever, celebrated the Day of the Revolution, which included the dictatorship of the LARC, and officially made Cuba a communist in 1965. The US in 1983 invaded Grenada to basically prevent the communist power, and finally, in the 1981 time or whatever, Berlin Wall was finally built back, and communists started to deflate, until finally, in 1991, the Soviet Union also dissolved and become 15 new countries. This caused many other countries to also basically lose their communists, and currently there's 5 technically communist countries, with North Korea being the only real communist country, and maybe Cuba, but whatever. We're not gonna get political in these stuff. Now, in the end, communism have gone through a long history through the 1960s, something, whatever. Well, communism may not be forgotten because of all the stuff that happened. Communism, as we all know, is freaking trash. Let's end the freaking video right now.